Let's take a look at how we solve profit equals revenue minus cost application problems. This type of problem will give you a per item cost and a per item revenue. For example, maybe a company makes vacuum cleaners, and maybe the vacuum cleaners cost $10 to make. The $10 would be your per item cost, and then maybe they're able to sell those vacuum cleaners for $60. Then the $60 would be your per item revenue. Once they give you that information, they're going to ask you how many items would need to be sold to make a certain level of profit. For example, how many vacuum cleaners would we need to sell to make $20,000? That $20,000 gives you the total profit. Okay, so what we're setting up is total profit equals total revenue minus total cost. So if we're given the per item revenue and cost, we can change that into a total revenue or total cost by multiplying the per item by x, letting x be equal to the number of items. Okay, so let x equal number of items. Okay, then your total cost, for example, would be equal to the per item cost times x. Okay, same thing for the revenue per item. That looks a little strange, doesn't it? It's like a V per item cost. Okay, and like I said, same thing for the revenue. Total revenue, I'm going to abbreviate, is equal to the per item revenue times x. Okay, so we'll be given the per item cost and revenue, and then we will be given the total profit, and that's when we'll set up our profit equals revenue minus cost formula. We'll solve it for x, and that will give us that number of items that will give us the total profit. Okay, now occasionally these problems don't come out nice and round, so your number of items may be something like 18.3, for example. Typically on problems like that, we just round up to the next whole number because we can't make a partial item in most cases. So we'll round on up to the next whole in order to give us the sufficient profit level. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. It costs a manufacturer $5 to make a calculator. That calculator sells for $10. How many calculators need to be sold to make a profit of $10,200? All right, let's go ahead and set this up. Our total cost is going to be the per item cost of $5 times the number of items, which would be x. So if we drop the parentheses, that's just simply going to be 5x. The total revenue, and I'm not going to use the parentheses this time, would be $10 times x. That gives you $10 for every item that you sell. And what we'll do is we'll say revenue minus cost. So revenue is the amount of money you take in. Cost is the amount of money you had to spend to produce the products. Okay, so the difference between those two gives you the amount of money that you get to take home, which is your total profit. So that total profit is going to be $10,200. That's how we'll set it up. Okay, you can use dollar signs in there if you want to. I took them out of the problem to just keep it from getting cluttered. The answer is going to be in units, in calculators, in other words, so we won't have a dollar sign in the answer. Okay, all right, so let's set it up. Profit equals revenue minus cost, and that's going to be $10,200 is equal to 10x minus 5x. You may have actually figured that out in your head, okay? You may have thought, well, if they cost $5 a piece and somebody's going to pay $10 for them, then that means that they would bring you $5 for each calculator, okay? So that's the per item profit that you would get, which is what we find here. If we simplify, 10x minus 5x gives me 5x. Okay, and what we have here, like I said, this is your total profit, and this is actually an expression of your total profit as well. 5 is your per item profit times the number of items that you've got, x. And so this gives you your not your but your total profit, just as the 10,200 does, okay? So from here we solve for x by dividing both sides by 5. And what we get for our answer is 2,040. Okay, so we would need to make 2,040 calculators. Make and sell, okay? 2,040 calculators. Whoops. Apologize. I crossed an L there, didn't I? Instead of crossing a T. Okay, so that's how we set up and work through a profit equals revenue minus cost problem.